All right. Yo, welcome to the hole where no depth is too deep. This is where the woke stay woke and the sleepers can't sleep. I'm Shaman, and this is my guest. You want to introduce yourself, bro?
I'm JD.
JD. JD, this is about to get real heavy for those who, because I know what kind of minds right here on the set. I know what we like to bring, like we don't like to operate in no field of fiction. We like to come with the facts. And we like to say what we know and not what we think we know. So, as long as we're making this discussion, public to everybody else, I know we're gonna be bringing it. Um, right now is what I like to call the authentic brown month. It's Black History Month, so of course that's the topic. You know what I mean? And I did actually text you um, some things that we would talk about. We didn't script this. For those who waiting for a script, it's not a script. How you feeling though?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good, man.
All right. And
Yeah.
in this journey that you've been taking doing life, bro, I know that you done came across all kinds of information, coming across your wave. So while we get straight to it and uh put these pieces to these puzzles together to the big puzzle, I just want you to, chime in with the gems and we'll go from there. I'm gonna ask you the
Yep.
most important question. As an intellect, I know you have the answer to this, but heavily it's heavily debated by plenty of people who are taught by systematic teaching, and they think that that's just the way to go. They got submissive information. Somebody else did some bull crap, non-research form, and put it in a textbook, and they stuck with it because that's what they know. But as far as for that, you have the answer to this question, and I know you do, but I'm gonna ask you because it's the key to just opening up this door right now. Who are the indigenous Americans of this land, the true indigenous Americans?
Now that one, I'll be lying if I told you I knew for a fact only
Hmm.
that. But if you look around, who at just across the planet,
Right.
you can see who the Aborigines are and what they look like.
Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna take that away from you to say Aboriginal, but it's a term that see I was taught by scholars and people like Dr. Delbert Blair, and I learned a valuable lesson the years I've studied just listening to this man put down his lectures and to say Aboriginal is to abhor the originals, and that's not like that's why we are the indigenous. Um, from my understanding and all the collective knowledge and the research that has
Right.
been done by the elders prior to my understanding and coming up, I've always had a taste for more knowledge, a thirst for more
Yeah.
knowledge as well. So what I'll start to elaborate on what I understand and what I've been taught, and then we'll go a little bit further so we can
Oh
sharpen
yeah.
each other like iron does. Now, when we talk about the true indigenous Americans, those are you and me, our family. These are the people that you call the Moors. These are the people that you call Hebrews. These are the peoples that are the real indigenous people to this land right here because we got to take it all the way back to the greatest migration to come out of Africa. You know, not to take it sideways, but if you know about the term African American, it was actually coined by people like Jesse Jackson. That's why if you watch the movie
Yeah.
Barbershop, you hear said the entertainer say, "Man, Jesse Jackson,"
Yeah.
because it's people like them they looked at as who sold us up the river for the 501(c) pay. But to understand that is to understand this. The true indigenous people are the Moors, are us. Moor just means who we are. You know what I mean? The Murs. So to understand that is to understand this. We didn't come from a place of none. We didn't. It wasn't the idea of enslavement. It doesn't happen like we've been taught into these history books. We've been taught that hey, we came on slave ships and all that, but what actually is documented and recorded from Columbus, Leif Erikson, and other explorers who made their way to the Americas and the Caribbeans, is that they saw us when they got here, and to even match that testament, we'll go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to make this all add up. So we're gonna break it down to build up for those who starting from ground zero, basically.
Right.
When I say the Indigenous Americans, I'm talking about the first to migrate out of Africa. The greatest migrations that we know happened out of Africa 60 to 70,000 years ago. And if you think about who was here when you get this context from what I've been taught by my elders is there is no way around knowing who a way around to not know who the native people are, let's just separate that, who the indigenous people are. Because if I have to explain to you what a Native American is someone who was born here before colonial style, before being colonized.
Yeah.
So that, and when you get people that they call a Native American, that's just somebody that a Native American, let's just take it back. They migrated out of Africa and they were the ones who come from the last ice age. So
Right.
those people who came from the last ice age are the ones who moved from out of the ice age in the Caucasus Mountains. They made their way to Asia. And this is why you'll get the genetic profile, how they look. They made their way through Asia. They spent hundreds of years in Asia after the last ice age, and that's anywhere from 19,000 to 26,000 years ago. And we know this for a fact because we know about their pattern of migration, and we'll show you exactly where they went through the Siberian Strait. So to know
Right.
that is to understand that when they come out of the ice age, they go into Asia. They spend hundreds of years in Asia, and they start to migrate their way out of Asia, and they make their way to places like Mexico, and then they find their way to the Americas to settle, where they come across us, and we were living harmoniously in balance without any interference, if you understand where I'm going with this. I'm going to let you pick up what I'm putting down by saying this right here. There's even further proof of us here, the existence. Have you ever heard of Abu Bakr the second?
No.
Okay, so he was a part of the Songhai Empire. The Songhai Empire was about 1292, stuff like that. That was before Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa comes from the Mali Empire. And these are the people who traveled to the Americas, traveled to Mexico, and then you have scholars, European scholars, who will say what they have to say. You know, we're not, of course, we're going to argue with that, but we're not going to debate it because there's none of them here right now to debate that. But I will say this, that's their systematic teaching, and that's a part of coloring up who these people are here. And if you pay attention to anything about geographical location, you would understand who we are here, because we are the only people who've ever been misplaced and displaced by these so-called by these colonizers. Actually, when you understand that a man from China, a Chinese man belongs to China. If you understand that a man from Italian man belongs to Italy, if you understand that a Japanese man belongs to Japan, and a Mexican belongs to Mexico, and so on and so on, when you think about us, we are the only ones who they try to hide our identity from. We went from colored to Negro to African American, thanks to Jesse Jackson. Things such of the sort. So to understand that is to understand this. If there's so much you have to keep changing about a person's identity, it only makes sense to those people that you change the identity about, is that you're trying to hide their secrets. Now, be that as it may, that slavery did happen. Slavery happened on a level where there was people here already. To understand what my elders taught me about the people that were here were prisoners of war on this land, for people to come with what we've never seen before. Gunpowder, weapons, like a sorcery we've never seen. We weren't making those. We didn't have those. Like I said, we were living in harmony when they came. If you look at what actually happened with Columbus, he talks about how there was African Moors in the Caribbeans, and there were several other Spanish explorers who look into their chronicles, and they remark that, in their writing, that this is what they saw when they journeyed across, when they came on those Spanish explorations, that they saw there were Africans already here abroad in the Americas. This is no secret. This is big documentation. You can go find it in any book, any real, true institution that holds credible knowledge. And this is where we get our arguments because you have so many people who want to combat these things. And you've had people like Ivan Vance and Sertima. If you've read his book, They Came Before Columbus. Have you ever heard of this book? It's a great read and it's powerful information, a part of knowing where you connect to. And he starts to break down all these informations that are biblically connected. You get what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
are connected to even what we mentioned prior when we talk about the Mali Empire, when we talk about the Songhai Empire, Mansa Musa, and you talk about these big old omic heads. Okay, if we're smart enough to navigate the water by knowing the maritime, you would have to know who knew the maritime at first, who was traveling. Okay, because we
Right.
had so many empires, and even here, the Tartarian Empire, you would have the Songhai traveling, and you hear the story of Abu Bakr II. He sends out ships to go. He sends them with golds to come right here to the people that we know about doing trade with that are here already in
Right.
this land. And as the story
Oh,
goes, he sent a fleet of ships. This is deeply documented. This is nothing nobody has to make up because it's
yeah.
our month or whatever.
Oh, yeah. No, I do got something to say on the topic when you're done.
No, go ahead, because I'm not going to forget any type of information that's embedded in
Okay.
it anyway.
Yeah, I remember where you at Abu Bakar, but I was just saying like just in general, it's like a lot of people believe it's what you just call it straight up a cover up of our old world,
Mm-hmm.
a completely different. What's the word I'm looking for? Like globalized world
Mm-hmm.
from ancient time.
Mm-hmm.
And so like one proof of this is they made up an island in the 1800s called Lemuria.
Lemuria, yeah.
And yeah, okay, so Lemuria was this pretty much this landmass that they made up to explain why there were lemurs in Madagascar,
Right.
right? And lemurs come from India,
Mm-hmm.
and so pretty much just like with the cover up of that's why a lot of people believe the whole Siberian Strait thing. What is it called?
The Siberian Strait. What do you mean about the Native Americans traveling through the Siberian Strait?
Yeah, some people believe that that's a myth, and and the reason why that is
Mm.
because the whole Lemuria things. It was
Right.
proof that certain organizations or entities will form a story to explain something they can't understand.
Right.
So
Right.
they couldn't understand why the lemurs how they got from India to Madagascar, and they
Right.
were basically saying there's no possible way they had ships back then. You see what I'm saying? And
You believe
so
that?
no, and that's what I was going to dig into right there
Okay.
because now another thing is like if you look at the cultures like of who were big cultures back then, and even if you want to look at where the pyramids are, you see what I'm saying? There
Right.
was an ancient globalized civilization, and the
Right.
center of it was Egypt.
Right.
But if you look at it back then, the map was flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Madagascar was north, so it was like the Alaska of that time.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? This is why Egypt, what we would consider North Egypt, was considered South Egypt, and
Yeah.
what was
Of
like over
course.
there by Nubia was considered North.
Of
You see what I'm
course.
saying?
Mhm.
And they had maritime travel. This is why, like they tell you, they everything they did was on water.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm saying? And whatever this civilization was, they did business. They did a lot of trading with other civilizations across these waters.
It's
You
true.
see what I'm saying? That's why you got pyramids in India. You got pyramids in Indonesia. You
Mm-hmm.
got pyramids all across this line.
You have
You
pyramids
know
right here in the Americas. That's the
exactly
that's the
all the
craziest
way
thing.
across
So
everywhere that civilization was.
pyramids. If you understand what pyramids are energy sources all around the planet. There's
Right,
nothing specific about pharaohs just inhabiting the pyramids. It's about who can harness the energy. That's for first and foremost to understand that. And that's going down another hole. That's why we here in the hole where there is no depth too deep. The woke will stay woke and the sleepers can't sleep. This is to catch up those who are so far behind and have been grounded by systematic information or what we call submissive information because what you're talking about is not presented in your textbooks when you go to public school. You get what I'm saying?
right,
It's not nothing. This is information you have to pull out your mental shovel for and actually get into these You have to get into the findings, get into these teachings, get into these books that were banished, get into these oral things people were strung up for. People were like our leaders. If you look at every leader we've had, from Martin Luther King to Malcolm X to Marcus Garvey to Bob Marley, all our great leaders and revolutionists have been assassinated for carrying the truth in them and not on them. So when you teach a people to wake them up and arise their understanding from this systematic teaching, it takes them away from people who can be governed. Because if you can't govern a person and you can't govern their ideas, then what do you create? You create a leader. You create someone who is a problem for a system who wanted everyone to have one worldly teaching. But to understand that is to understand that as we live in this day and age, to combat with people who talk about the indigenous people are Native Americans. No, I'll just explain to you what a Native American is. That's where you get that slant eye look from coming from out of Asia. That's where you get that different type of, where they got their pigmentation back traveling. And traveling does a lot to the human being, to the African, to know that you can place us anywhere around the world and we will adapt. That's first and foremost. We will adapt to any climate, any weather condition, any place that we are placed. It's actually, listen, what people need to understand is it's documented into the Afro-Indigenous histories of the Black Seminoles. Okay, the freemen of the five tribes, mixed families of those who come from the Southeast, and this is also bigger claims than that. This is stuff that they can't throw away. You can't erase this type of history. There's a genocide on our culture, there's a genocide on our truth, and there's a genocide on telling the truth. So when we come to this, who are the indigenous people, it's us. It's us for a fact. You can't take it away that when you start to understand that these people have we have a better claim to knowing who we are by saying that people can say, oh, you're from Africa. Well, everybody came from Africa, whether they're watered down or not. You get what I'm saying? Because if you really take it back to, you've heard of the Pangea effect, 35 million years ago or whatever, the earth actually cracked the tectonic plates on purpose. And this was all because this was going to be the discombobulation right here, where this information was going to be debated. Like this right here for us to talk was already written in the footnotes of the Creator. He already know that this was going to happen. This was going to happen, and we're going to have these big debates because there's so much powerful dynamics behind this, because there's a shift of teaching us only this propaganda about that you only come from slavery. And to only think that you come from slavery. Now, don't get me wrong. Most people want a better story, a better narrative. But the truth is we don't have to make up a better story or a better narrative. As I understand it, especially from learning from my elders, is that we know that there is true science there because we were the first scientists. There is true philosophy because we were the first philosophers. Now, when we look at mainstream archaeologists and geneticists, they do put these models together and they do understand certain things, but there are significant pieces of the puzzle that are missing. No matter if you're one of these people who are fooled enough to go through something that's an ancestry test on ancestry.com that's created by the Europeans. And that's another way to shadow what just now. I'm not against science at all. I'm big on science. So that's another way to shadow what they don't want to come to the light. But this is something we holding up to the light, so it's got to be seen. You've got to know that there was deep ancient movements. So if we look at that, we get the baseline of this scientific story. You start to understand that so many things that you have been taught are, like you said, on the map, upside down or twisted, flipped it. This is how you displace a people. This is how you miseducate a people. This is how you mistreat a people. And this is how they misunderstand. Now, it's not our fault that we're here to have this conversation, but it is our fault if we don't know better and we keep teaching our kids miseducation. You can't teach a society of children that are born woke and they're rising to this knowledge. We right now, we're in the Aquarian age. This is the age of information. Let's talk about the colonies of we talk about like people like the Maroons, right? I know you heard of the Maroons, right? Those who fought in the Seminoles who fought for their
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Seminoles who fought for their freedom. They went to Florida and they were in the
Yep.
Carolinas. This is about the great relationships between us and them. I don't know what's jumping on this screen or whatever. Sorry about that.
No, I can't see nothing.
Oh, you can't see that? Okay.
No.
Well, the streets don't have to make it up because just because someone says it's because it's oral teaching. We suppressed and compressed a lot of information because we had to. The leaders that were teaching us that we were native here were the ones that they were killing first. The ones they put that noose around their neck, even when they'd seen that they were teaching us that we were part of the original 5 tribes. They were teaching you that you were part of the Choctaw. They were teaching you that you were part of the Cherokee, or that you were part of the Seminole tribe. You get what I'm saying? They were teaching us these things in secret. Like now, if you have a talk, say like you have talk that you wouldn't talk to people about, we all have counterparts as friends, so or most of us do. I can't say everybody, but you would understand that we have what they call kitchen talk or barbershop talk. These are things that we talk about amongst ourselves, because a lot of this information that they swept under the rug like it was dust was things that they knew they didn't want you to learn. But if you are in any part of their secret society clubs, then you would understand a bigger thing about the myth that they have pressed on you. Because if everyone knew it, it wouldn't be a secret anymore, and they'd just be a society. So when we talk about the multi-ethnic groups, you think about the multi-ethnic formation. And this is something that these scholars call ethnogenesis, right? This is important, right? Because a lot of these people that we sit down to debate with, they know these things about the Seminole. They know they didn't arrive. You know how they formed out of the Muskegee. They know that they come from the migrants, okay? They know that these were the people who we were fleeing them. We were fleeing their disease, their warfare, all this stuff when they came. Because when you have indigenous people who are not used to people
Yeah.
coming into their land, you're bringing all kinds of things.
New bacteria.
Excuse me?
I was saying new bacteria.
Yeah, for sure. This is where you have people who don't want to, don't get me wrong, because it ended up happening anyway by way of rape and all these other stuff, but who did not want to mix with other people who weren't. You had intermarriage between, don't get me wrong, this is right here, who were living in harmony. Like I said, you had intermarriage, you had interrelationships between these Seminoles, these tribes, the 5 tribes. You had relations between us and those who they call the Native Americans. We didn't have a problem living with each other. We know this for a distinctive fact, that anything that was put in these textbooks was to erase the knowledge, was to erase the understanding that we had before people started to come here and colonize. So when you colonize something, you change things to how you want them to be. You write the narrative. So when you write the narrative, guess what happens? You won. It's his story. You get to tell that. We've all heard that. If we had to break it down like that, we've heard it in times ago. We've heard it so long ago that history is his story. But this is to go a bit further. We target certain things about how we had to fight, okay? Uprisings, how we had to fight because people were. Now, if somebody came to your house right now, and I know that you would recognize who you are, you would recognize that you had to fight to get these people away from you, get these people off of you. Everybody wasn't submissive. There were those who were afraid, and there are still those who are afraid today. Like we got ball players, we got musicians, we got actors who live by a clause like, hey, your revolution will not be funded. So if you want to become, they did it to Nick Cannon. They shut him down when he started talking. You get what I'm saying? To become aware of this knowledge, he becomes aware of himself. So when man or woman, who is the indigenous man and woman, understands that, hey, you can't populate this country with this inconsiderable story about transatlantic slave trade. Because you say that it was about 12 to 15 million people that you brung. You say during the Middle Passage about 3 to 5 million of those people didn't make it. You get what I'm saying? It doesn't add up. The math ain't mathing.
at all.
This isn't something you can just tell us and just expect us to accept everything holistically that you tell us, because it's hard to swallow. It's hard to swallow because it's a bitter truth. That's not nothing we want to eat. We want the truth. Even if it's that type of bitter truth, like that lets us know that there was some of us who were willing to sell each other out. You get what I'm saying? So to understand the narrative that they have given us is false. It's false. You got people who try to wake you up about this, like Kanye West. What is he, a madman to you? He said slavery was a choice. I can't get mad at him when I agree with that. Because slavery, I will break that down and build it up for a second. Because slavery was a choice. If you take 100 of my people and you put us on a plantation with 5 to 10 men with guns, it is our choice to stay there when we can. A couple of us will die. They had 2 shots back then. 2 shooters. They didn't have no damn switches, cousin. They didn't have none of that.
Right.
They didn't have nothing that could take us all out. And there was big rebellions on these lands where people were imprisoned on their own land. And don't get me wrong, people were sold off, auctioned. All these things are true about how they mistreated us. But the biggest lie they've ever told is to stop us from being empowered by our true origin of knowing that you're native to this land. I'm going to make that make a little bit more sense about slavery being a choice. You got 30,000 killers in jail. 30,000 inmates, excuse me. About half of them, 15,000, 20,000 of them are killers. Pure killers. If they weren't killers before they in there, they turned into one in there. And you mean to tell me that you let 50 to 60 to even 100 guards at the most control 30,000 prisoners? That's a choice. That's a choice. You allow that to happen. You such a killer out here in the world, but you go there and you follow rules. You play along like that. That's the same thing as him saying slavery was a choice.
Only thing I think about that though,
Yeah.
like the only part of that I disagree with is because that insinuates that it was no uprising, and it was.
There were plenty of uprisings.
Exactly. We
There
know
were
about
plenty
Nat Turner. But we
Yeah,
also
there were
know
plenty of Nat Turners, to be exact. There were plenty of people
exactly
just like him. They
all throughout. You know what I'm saying? And my point is,
Mhm.
it wasn't it's not that it was a choice, because the reality is every time there was an uprising, they had to fight the military. You see what I'm
Most
saying?
definitely. Most
You
definitely.
know what I'm saying? They always won those immediate battles. They always
Yeah.
outnumbered who was ever was in the city immediately. But
Mhm.
word always got out, and when the word got out, the military came back, and
Mhm.
that's what the capitulation was to. It was really to the military, because it was, we can't beat them, and that's what a lot of people capitulate to now.
Take that back a step further when you talk about those 5 civilized tribes. That's why they were who they were. Definitely feared. Those Murs were feared. Our ancestors were feared for a reason. You think about the Choctaw. You think about the Muskegee. You think about the Cherokee, the Seminole. These were warriors. These weren't
Right,
cowards.
right,
These
right,
were the ones who fought. The Seminoles. You put the Seminoles in the French and the Indian War, and what did we do? We whooped their ass for them. And they traded on us afterwards. Of course, thanks
right.
for your help, don't need you anymore. But the thing is, you would understand, we taught them, when you read those stories about the Indians whooping ass, the Indians whooping them, the flanking style, we went all around them because they were used to this heads up,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah.
this and that. They wanted
It
to
was
fight square
intrigued.
up. The reason they lost is because they weren't used to us. And now our styles are mimicked in wars and all these Call of Duty games and all of that, because these colonial systems that tried to erase our history were the ones who had to switch their gears. They had to learn from us. See, this is all propaganda teaching when you start to talk about how they got the military and all this involved. And that's on certain levels, because if you're whooping ass from state to state, of course, they got to come with a plan to regroup. They got to say, how did we get whooped? How did this happen to us? We're the ones with all the weapons. They got these spears. But when they got here,
Right,
this is well documented. They emphasized on how they saw us with these metallurgy spears. And they saw this. They said we were here trying to trade them off. Trying to trade them off to them. And if you think about Mansa Musa, them coming into these parts and all that, or even Abu Bakr coming to what they say is not the Americas, or even coming to Mexico and all these to trade, We were trading gold. We were trading. That's how you get
Right.
these things into these lands. We had the flashy looks. That's why you see the rappers want to look like their ancestors. This isn't
Yeah.
about them getting money and not knowing what to do with it, even though most don't. But this is about a significance to paying
Yeah.
homage to, like
Our
Mr.
genetic
Like
memory is
Mr.
different.
T. Excuse me?
Our genetic memory is
Yeah.
different.
And see, DNA is the record keeper. It don't lie to you. That's what's waking us up. That's what's being born into the children right now. Is a greater profile of DNA. Like you had a grandparent who told you, like, oh boy, you got Indian in your blood. They weren't lying to you. They weren't lying to you when they told you you was part Cherokee. They weren't lying to you like doing your hair. You got some good Indian hair. You know why? Because these are the people that you are made up of. And then when you hear these tales, you hear these tales about yourself. You could only listen to these tales and it resonates to you about who your people are. It's set as far as it's set in stone that people will be programmed. So once you program a person, they want some type of definitive proof that, hey, what is it that you are saying? Even though it resonates with them really well in here and in here, they want something that says, okay, make it more clear for me. Well, they didn't have to make it more clear for you. They gave it to you and you ran with it. They didn't have to make it clear for you at all. It's just like right now, if you want to be a freed man, if you want to be a part of what you're, if you was doing what the Moorish Science Temple or people who want to be claim their sovereignty, you got to go through a bunch of bullcrap paperwork and all this to prove who you are. But why I got to do that when I don't have to prove who my brother is? I don't have to prove who my grandmother is, my auntie, my uncle, who my cousins are. None of that. I don't have to prove who they are. We don't have. But you want me to prove that I am a descendant of the people that I'm claiming right now. But if we don't have to do that with them. We don't have to. They don't have to do that to us. They don't have to prove. They can just make it up as they go. And it's all gold coming out their mouth to the fool who listens to this, because even though those spidey senses go in and the hairs start to stand up and they tingle and you feel this, even though you know the truth deep down inside, you still go with that submissive information, that systematic lie, because you were programmed. It's just
Yeah.
like being a child in kindergarten. You're free. Everything, every color is around you so vibrant. But when you move out of that kindergarten class, what happens? You get those bland rooms. What happens? You get those walls that look like this behind you, or the tan, or you get that one color. Because now we're changing the paradigm. We're changing this because we're programming you. It's just like they get mad at you if you don't bring your child to school, and then they say, in a public school setting, they say, okay, your child is truant, because they can't program your child if your child is not there to attend the programming. This is all
Right.
about systematic teaching. If I can't teach you my system, then you are subject to being a leader. You're someone who will go against and go above and beyond this subjective information. And they know this. They know this because even with the idea of knowing who you are, it's okay for you to know that. But teaching who you are is not okay. There's two things that you can have that they will want you to have separate. You can have a mind that's fine. You know this stuff. And you can have a voice that's fine. You can say stuff. So the mind and voice, they don't want to go together. If you have a mind to know these things, that's okay. He's well off. He's got an overstanding. She's got an overstanding. But when you have a voice solo with no mind, that's ignorance is bliss. They love to see a fool talk. Let that fool talk. Let that fool say whatever because he doesn't have a mind. But when you have a mind and a voice, that is the deadliest combination to their systematic teaching. That is the deadliest combination to their programming, to their propaganda. Now, this person has their eyes wide open. That third eye is open. Some people like to say right here, that third eye, because that's that eye in the back of your head. That third eye is something that they can't allow. They can't allow you to know this. It's American democracy. Democracy. You get what I'm saying? The republic is for the people. So knowing this is, and I know you know we were the first republics, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what's understood ain't got to be explained. I was going to drift off into this, but When it
Like
comes,
controlled by the people, right?
yeah. So
What you
when
mean,
it
like,
comes to
yeah.
the Black Americans, we think about mostly because we're native by
Oh
our
yeah, yeah. You
ancestry.
talking about like the actual Republican Party formed
Yeah,
by Black
yes,
Americans? Yeah.
yes.
Yep.
We're
Yeah.
native by our ancestry because the strategy was moral and political. Okay, so to understand that is to understand this. With our ancestral, with us being indigenous, right? It insists that you know who you are. You are the native to this land, the true native, the true indigenous person. And it doesn't leave room, it doesn't leave balance for them to put a lie in there to understand that. If you even knew that the census that they give you about the people of even of your culture or your race is false, that right there would create if
I
you
was just
knew that
reading something
instead
on
of
that.
15 million people here that there's about 70, 80 million black people, that would wait. What is going on? Then let's look outside of that. Let's look outside of the because we can never be a minority anywhere. Brazil has the second largest population of Afro people, African people. You get what I'm saying? Then you go outside of that. We got Colombia, we got Venezuela, we got Trinidad, we got Tobago, we got Puerto Rico. We are all around the world, and it's gonna hurt your feelings to know the truth. We got so many people that are, and I mean black, white, blue, brown, whatever color you want to be, that are heavily uneducated. They're miseducated. They're uneducated in some senses, some people, misinformed and being misused because they are the vessels that are smart enough to know and they have these social media platforms, but instead, what do they want to get on there and do? They want to get on there and talk about messy situations. They want to get on there and twerk. They want to get on there and try to sell stuff for these people, but the sovereignty doesn't tie into that. Your sovereignty is knowing who you are because you come from a great resistance of people who they keep trying to hide this information from. And when you have people like me who will not let this lie just walk through me, who will not teach it to my children, then I create a problem for your propaganda. I create a problem for your systematic teaching. And we create a problem by knowing the truth. When the truth is in you and not on you, you're not worried about it. One of those people who have to play ball, as they say, or play along, these are people who have to tuck their tails. They have to tuck their tails because knowing something and showing something is two different things. You can know this shit, you better not show this shit. That's what they say. Hey, you can get this, I'll give you money. I'll give you money. But no matter what you do with your money, you better not try to start a revolution. You better not start anything that implies that you're going to take away from what we put in those textbooks to teach you that you are not you. We taught you this, and we want you to keep that lie going. What is their biggest superpower? Lying. Their biggest superpower is teaching you that you are not you. That is colonizing right there in the first place. That is colonization at its finest, in its finest form. So to understand that is to understand there are plenty of people who want a better understanding. And to have a better understanding is to give those people those truths that they really deep down inside knew about. There are people who know that, hey, those people are those people in the books. Those people are those Native Americans they're talking about, or the Indian term they term. And we all know that if you were to use a geographical location for the word Indian, it would have to trace back to India, which is in Asia.
Right.
If you think about Pangea and a long time ago, the whole land was called Asia. Africa comes from the Carthaginians. You know that. We all understand that. That's how they were conquered by Africanists. We know this. This is information that you can teach to a third grader, and it's
Right.
documented. It's well documented. That's why you talk to a person who is from Africa, right? Ask them what they are. They're going to tell you, oh, I'm Ghanaian. I'm Kenyan. I'm a Nigerian. They're not going to. You're going to call them an African before they call themselves one. You're going to be the one who describes them. That's because you've been systematically taught to call them an African instead of what they are by their landmass. You wouldn't. Okay, so if you go to Asia, which India is inside of Asia, we're not fools. Hell, Europe is inside of Asia, in the peninsula of Asia. We all
Yeah.
understand this. This is small, this is baby knowledge, okay? But you
Right.
understand when you call someone something, you identify them with their geographical location, where they're from. Well, ask yourself this real question. Where are the Colorians at? Where are the Negroians at? Where are the African Americans at? There's no African American over here. You get what I'm saying? There is nothing that ties to that. But knowing who you are as an indigenous American, that sets the record straight. We don't have to argue about things that we know. That's baby knowledge. But it's things that they've shadowed over this real knowledge that we have to hold up to the light. Now, I'm going to give you a chance to rebuttal on anything that I'm saying right now.
Oh no, no, we pretty much seeing out of most of that. Anything I
that's
had a
not fair.
rebuttal on, yeah. Anything I had a rebuttal on, I spoke on. But for the most part, we was on the same page.
Okay, let me say, I want to get back to this, right? That, when it comes to the Afro-Indigenous state, right? You think about the Black freemen, okay? The Black freemen, which are the Seminoles, right? They built everything, they solidified what they had to do by knowing that, hey, we have to fight, because nothing was going to be given to them. Nothing was going to be given to them. It all boils down to political claims. When you're fighting the mass, you're dealing with incarceration. You worried about the police violence, and you worried about all of that right now, because we see how they will quickly unalive us. Quickly. It is a fear. It is a fear of the indigenous man. You know why they fear the indigenous man? Because truly they know the power of the indigenous one. They know what most who come from this land don't know about themselves. So to tell you that you are an African American is easy on them. And when you check that box on your application instead of other, it is bliss. It is bliss to them that you still don't know who you are. It is the happiest thing to them, the happiest feeling. But if you look at these social media, because the internet is here for us, it works both
Right.
ways, good and bad. You see that cop every now and then that runs into that person who has the sovereignty papers, who shows you like, listen, we played your game to show you that I'm sovereign because I was well awoke, well informed to know that who I am and where I come from, that I'm indigenous to this land. I'm a Mer. I come from this land.
Oh yeah, I seen those.
But
Yep.
they created this false narrative where they wanted us to play along, where this land is your land, this land is my land. Keep that bull crap. I won't teach my kids that. I will teach them the truth. And that's how we break the cycles. That's how we stop this foolishness. That's how we stop whispering in these barbershops. That's how we stop having kitchen talk. Don't be afraid, because there are, if you really want to understand this, there are just as many as European descendant people who understand in these Americas, who understand, because I still call it the Americas. If we look at how they do business, they're doing business under the United States. That's what they colonized these Americas to be, the United States. But there are just as many as them who understand, or if not more of these than people who are still sleeping. But this right here is the reason why we're in this hole, because when we have so many people who are afraid, it's amazing, right? How our people, how we are all at once, how we are temperamental, how we are calm, how we are brave and how we are afraid, how we are powerful and how we are weak, how we are all these talents that go with all these non-talents together, how we have all these things, because the greatness comes from already being powerful, being those magnified people who come from these places. You look at these wars that happened and people that fled and people that stayed. They went to the Bahamas, they went to Mexico, they went to these places because they were not just afraid, but they were thinking about escaping and getting away from this. And it's the same things as people who are afraid of this knowledge. They will escape this knowledge, because no matter who's teaching it to them, if it wasn't that programming that they got, it's hard for them to go against that system that they can't escape. They won't escape because they're submissive to it. They don't want any trouble. They don't want any problems. They die like cowards. They live submissive. If you think about DNA, back to that, right? DNA tests miss so much. They can miss a small piece of your ancestry or a big piece of it. And I'll prove that to you because there's so much that geneticists still don't understand about us that they have a profile of our DNA that they call junk DNA.
Junk DNA, yeah.
You know why? They don't understand how the DNA what's the word I'm looking for?
You mean like that twisted double helix shape?
Yes, but this is what I'm getting at because there are so many haplogroups to look at. Okay, there are so many blood types in your blood type that we should all be O. But there's so much admixtures. There's so much mixing of our blood, even with those who are here mixing with other Africans who came, or even have a little bit of that pinch of that European they don't want to talk about. You know, just like the European has that pinch of that African blood that they don't want to, pinch of that blood that they don't want to talk about. You get what I'm saying? It's because genetics, your DNA can do so much. The DNA in you and your brother, who will have the same exact mom and dad, right? Well, one of y'all will have, this is the craziest part about DNA. One of y'all will have a higher count of this side of a family, and the other will have a smaller fraction. You get what I'm saying? Like, but have the same ancestors who come from the same makeup. But by your mom and your dad fusing these two different blood types with the DNA, you start to see certain differences in it. That's why they cannot make out what they call junk DNA. The junk DNA is the biggest confusion for them. It's something that lets them know that, hey, we need to study a little more. We need better tools. We need better science. We need better scientists. We need a better understanding. Okay? This is a lot for people who don't understand how the blood works, who we are. And these indigenous people that you look at, we got so many shades, 50 shades of brown. We got so many. Look at your complexion. And you and your brother have the same mom, same dad, right?
Yep.
Look at your complexion. You're lighter than him, right?
Yep.
And he's darker than you. Same mom, same dad. You see what DNA can do? You see what DNA can do? We are magical people. If you think a butterfly is excuse me. See, my phone. If you think a butterfly is strong because a butterfly goes through a great transition, from the caterpillar to the cocoon and then to the butterfly. If that can do that, what do you think we can do? See, we've been taught to forget these things. We've been reduced by these bullcrap vaccines, which is probably another story, but this is still a part of this story. With these bullcrap vaccines that got these animal stuff, animal fluids inside them, and you put them inside your kids, you put them in your body, you think it's cool to take for a flu, and this is getting to that. No, we're not made of that. That's not a part of our DNA. It's not a part of our genetics. We're not supposed to have that inside of us. You're blocking my creativity. You're blocking my powers. You're blocking my supernatural by adding that to this indigenous man. That's to take away from you, to keep you asleep while they stay awoke about who you are. You can't find them taking the dang on vaccines. You can't find them doing that because they know this was built for you. This was built for you to shorten your lifespan. Because the longer you live, the greater your knowledge gets. I don't care who you are. If not, you just become what we call an old fool. And there are old fools, but then there are, wise men, wise women, because this is how the world works for us. Genetically, as DNA is the record keeper, it enhances in intelligence. It enhances in memory. It enhances inside of us. So by the time we pass it down, guess what's happening? You have a child. Like if you wait a little bit longer, instead of having a child when your brain is not developed as you having a child as a teenager, but if you wait till you're in your 30s, guess what? That child you produce has a better IQ. And you get what I'm saying? It has a better IQ.
Yeah.
DNA got stronger and stronger. Now it gains a consciousness. It gains a memory. It gains a heightened intelligence that you cannot strip from it. because that's the stronger the DNA gets. The DNA is the record keeper. We keep passing these great DNAs down that go all the way up the line to come back down the line. You get what I'm saying? There is
Yep.
nothing they can stop about us knowing ourselves except for if we're programmed to not know ourselves. So by going through that era, we find ourselves at this crossroad. So how do you think people like you and I are going to get people to come closer to this stream of truth?
I mean, that's the thing, though. I feel like you said, when you started this off, you said it's like an Aquarian age.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a lot of people. It's already spreading to people, and I feel like people
Or
getting more thirst for knowledge in the first place. People
yeah,
getting more. They like the
trying to call me.
story we was given is falling apart.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So it's just like as time go on, I don't. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's just something that's just gonna naturally happen.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? There's something that go with that. Like when those stories don't add up, you start to understand that these people, like, don't get me wrong, not everybody on the internet is smart. You know, not everybody,
Right.
but and that's a big fact. But there are those who shadow that information. You get what I'm saying? That who
Yeah.
shadow what they know. They don't want to lose their funding. They don't want to lose their platform. They don't want to lose their followers. Because knowing the real truth, besides a systematic truth, which is not a truth at all, it takes you away from all those great luxuries, those materialistic things. But we're not made to be materialistic. The Creator does not make us to be that way.
Right.
Those others do, who have demonic ways, demonic passages to show you, hey, you're taking an oath, and that's most people who go to most places I won't even describe right now.
You know, it's crazy that you know what I'm saying that we saying that, and you know the whole Epstein just came out
Yeah,
like they were just basically pretty much saying they do these satanic rituals,
of
these
course,
billionaires,
of
these
course.
people who make decisions for everything that we do, from the government all the way down to the Xboxes that we play.
Mm-hmm.
And they was like they've been controlling it all. And it's like there's also, you know, like I said, there's stuff in it with them doing all kind of satanic rituals. And so it's like usually it used to be when you say stuff like that, it was an automatic conspiracy theorist tinfoil hat label.
Yeah,
When you say,
yeah,
"Oh no, this is the satanic push," you know what I'm saying? It's like, no, this is real.
it is.
It's basically get everybody out of a natural alignment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's just something about siphoning energy, something about controlling minds and programming. It's a reason to they do. I won't lie and say I know the exact reason they do what, but I know that for a fact that yeah, okay, we have the proof that they doing rituals, they getting together and they doing stuff. These billionaires they getting together and they controlling things, making decisions for everybody. It's like, but we already knew that, but it's just like now proof is coming out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it add validity to it to where you can't look crazy when you say, oh, okay, this is a whole demonic thing. And it's like when people ask you, why would they do that? This is the why. That's the whole thing that they can hide behind is, okay, why would we do that? Why would the government why would the people who making decisions be influenced by satanic stuff? Why would they do this? Is why. Because they told you, it's in the file that I was reading yesterday. They eat sacrificing stuff to Moloch.
Yeah,
And that's in the Bible.
that is knowledge that was already this goes back to whew, we can take this back to centuries ago. They have see back then their occults or their secret societies were more secret, but they have what we have now as what they call talebearers. Those are the
Yeah,
ones that they call the runaway slaves, and it's all encoded. Those are the true slaves. Those are the
yeah,
ones, if you look at it into the way of their lodges and all that, that's when they put it in there to where you'll understand about the information being gatekept for so long. They could only keep certain things so hidden so long in the dark before it comes to the light. Like the darkness is a place of peace, don't get me wrong, but before it comes to the light, before it becomes chaotic, is because they can no longer hide this thing. When you say that they are just now releasing this is information that they already known. It's just like, what do they When you say there's people who run this, that yeah, you talk about those 10 families, who run this, or some people say eight to 10 families, but either way it go, who run this show is simply those who are committed to like the Luciferian acts. They do these type of things because they already understand that this what we're talking about is peanuts to them.
Right.
It's peanuts to them. They've got so much bigger agendas that are going on. This is for us to be running around chasing our tails in a circle while they allow these things to happen. This child trafficking, these human trafficking, these missing people. Walmart is by most McDonald's, and that shows you there's missing people in here. But not only that, Walmart is where the missing people are. McDonald's serves what, 96 million served a day. How do you do that we don't have that much meat? So then when you have these places that have been talebearers that think they're talking in secrecy, and then you got somebody secretly recording them who comes up missing, because this happens a lot, who dies bringing us this information. People lose their lives. Then we ain't talking about the conspiracy theorists who can just put things together, thinking outside of the box. That's fine, because we have people like that. But people die bringing this information, because why are there so many Walmarts by the McDonald's? Why are there so many served, that many a day? We don't have that much meat to break down. And when you think about these missing people who never come back, they've been exposed how they use these grinders, these meat grinders, to constantly, and this is all races of people, so I can't just say that they're doing this to indigenous people only, or no, this is what they do to black people. No, this is what they do to people. It's a sick thing, but they prefer children for their blood sacrifices, to drink, rituals, because they feel like the child gives them more youth, it gives them, more validity. They stay more strengthened by getting these type of sacrifices, as they would have it, for their rituals, because they have a better communion around them, because they have a better sacrifice, a greater sacrifice to their devil, to their greater power. That's their higher power. That's how they get around doing the things that they do on this earth. And it didn't take for Epstein Island to do that, because they were doing that. They're doing that underground. They're doing that in secret places. They're doing that in plain sight, in places that are secret to us. You know what I mean? Like, there's places that we can see but not know what's going on in it. That's not being in that same room and knowing what's going on behind those doors. So when it comes to things like that, I'm not the person who can give you 100% proof on that, but I'm telling you, the information of people dying about it speaks for itself. People die bringing this information. People die exposing these people.
It's true.
People come missing. They get car wrecks, mysterious death, poisoning, unalived on camera, shot through the neck, all kinds of stuff. Still a do a hanging, still a string you up, still got all kinds of things for doing this, using that mind and that voice at the same time. That's the bigger picture. So what what we got going on? Keep your mouth shut, especially if you're a part of it. There's people like they speak on that wouldn't ever want to have kids or be around, because they know what happens when they're around these people that they deal with for this money that they settled in. And not to be throwing shots, but just keeping it plain and simple. There's people we've heard about, been around in this game for a while. 70 years old, they ain't got a kid in this world, because they know what happens to kids. They know what they do to the kids. They know what they do as a sacrifice. So when you talk about that, you basically, you preaching to the choir. I understand that. And then some instances I overstand that, because this is something I've been hearing about I've been in the hole. That's why we on the hole right now. This is something I've been hearing about for 20 years. This ain't nothing that just came about new to me. This is something I've been hearing about since my 20s. This is something I've already known, that, hey, we dealing with some sick individuals on this planet. What people do for money, what people do for I want to say hierarchy, for a position.
Yeah.
What
Status.
people do for status is the most incredibly disgusting thing in the world. You got so many people that's really a part of things that you think they would never be a part of. And these are those people that you call your favorite actors, rappers, whatever. Don't let them fool you. They just as much as a part of it as the people who started the show. Don't get me wrong, ain't no low level anybody finna come to their party. Ain't no anybody went out there to no Epstein Island. And there's many more Epstein Islands.
Oh, for real.
Many. That's just one. It's just like what you call it when they pop off that semi full of drugs and sitting on the side of the road, they happy about that bus. Hell, 20 more just drove past. That's
Right.
what they gave you. That's what they gave. That's what they wanted you to have. So you know, wow, what? And the show goes on. There's nothing stopping about what's going. They have a real agenda. So if we skip and bounce to that topic, I mean, hey, it's what they do. It's what they do. You know, like I say it like this: a drug dealer sell drugs, a politician tell lies, you know, stuff like that. You know, a swimmer swim stuff. It's what they do. It's nothing. Like it might be a big deal to you, but it's nothing to them. They're not even phased that you know. Now, if you got proof, that's a problem. But they're not even phased. And even if you have proof in most cases, most scenarios, what are you going to do about it? What are you or the people you're talking to going to do about it? You going to tell it? You look crazy to them because you don't have solid proof. You got them recorded doing it? No. You got somebody who told their tale, a talebearer, who is no longer here anymore. What do they care? I don't think they care. You got something going on right now?
Oh,
Okay, I ain't know you. You all right?
let me check real quick. No, I ain't got no text message.
Okay. But yeah, man, I'm just saying, like, it's so much to that right there that you touch on. That's been out here for a while. That the blood sacrifices and all this, you can take it back to how they use young children for do a lot with young children. They've been doing that for a long time. You take it back to the time where people were enslaved. What did they do when they were sick and all that? They put their feet on young children, and they felt on the young indigenous children. They felt that healed them. They would take their feet toxins and put it on the bare flesh of that child
Yeah, see.
to heal them. What makes sense about all that?
You said to heal them?
Excuse me? I couldn't hear
You
you.
said to heal them?
Yeah, to heal them. Like if some part of them was aching or not feeling good or whatever, boy, they used the slave child because they felt it was some type of powerful presence inside them, something in them. You all right over there?
Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm listening to you.
I think like you read something. That's why I'm just, I know what's
Oh
going
no,
on.
no. I turned my brightness up. No, but I ain't reading nothing.
Yeah, your room did get a little bit brighter. I didn't know if mine was too bright.
Oh no, no. My girl in the kitchen behind me. She just turned the light on.
Okay. Till I said hello. You know.
Yeah, he said my cousin said hello.
Hello.
Said hey.
Hello. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I keep silencing my message. I see them starting to come in, but I put everything on do not disturb. I don't even know how that call came through, to be honest. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I recognize not I recognize, but I recommend that you get that Ivan Van Sertima. They came before Columbus. It'll give you a
definitely.
bigger response, especially when we unpack all this, like the stuff that talk about every type of archaeological, response to something. You'll see that it's deep. It's deeper than what they give you on the surface. Every
Right.
piece of information, all these provocative claims, they stand out. Like it's something that'll resonate with you like in a heavy form. You ever heard of the White Sands?
It sound familiar.
The feet print from thousands of years ago. Or have you ever heard of the like say the pottery that they had and it comes from Asia, it comes from oof. I can't even I don't want to I want to say what I know and not what I think I know, but I want to put a time frame on it, but this was to show you the presence of, you know, us moving around. So it don't change the fact that when we come with these right here, these gems, we come with these facts, it ain't coming out our ass. We not making it up. It's not something that, hey, let's just put this lie together because they said we were nobody. Let's make ourselves somebody. That's not the name of the game. That's not how it goes. There's not people who are dying for this. If you look at Martin Luther King speeches, look at Malcolm X speeches. And I want you to do this homework. It's Black History Month, so you might as well. Go look at what they were saying. But have you ever watched any of their speeches or you just seen clips and pieces of them?
Just clips and pieces.
Okay, if you watch them, listen to Martin Luther King Jr. talk. Listen to Malcolm X talk. They'll tell you, you'll hear them powerfully stating this with their chest out, saying it wholeheartedly. Yeah, y'all came and took our land. You came and took our land. That don't sound like nobody you brung over on no ship. And not that it didn't happen, it just didn't happen to the extent where they said. And if so, let me say something. Let me go ahead and touch this up a little bit, right? Every piece of archaeological anything that they have, we have proof of. What the hell are those ships? I mean, the pieces of those ships, where are they? We even found pieces of Noah's Arks. Where the hell are those slave ships? Where the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria? Where are these slave ships? Where's the Jesus ship? What you do with them? Would you just figure, oh, we just gonna break these down, burn them, so we never have proof? If something made me off these people that are here already right now, if something made me trillions of dollars, because they've made trillions of dollars off of us, and we spend billions of dollars with them and keep the economy circulating right now to this day. If something has made me trillions of dollars, you think I wouldn't want it as a memorial or a monument? You think I don't want to put it in no damn museum? Because they're great at putting African works and all this into museums. Why not take something that was so good to you, so great for you, and put it in the museum? Where them damn ships at?
Nah, for real.
Don't worry, I'll wait for you to do a little bit of research on that and find out.
Oh no, I've already been down that rabbit hole. No, for real. Where are they?
Where are those ships? They can't make none of that bullcrap that they made up make sense. I refuse to teach it. I refuse to reciprocate that filth into the ears of my children. I refuse to make them see themselves like that. I refuse to belittle them. I refuse to degrade them. I refuse to denounce my people. I refuse to piss off my ancestors even further. I refuse. I mean, with that said, bro, I thank you for podcasting with me. You know.
Oh yeah,
and
no
we
doubt.
definitely
Ain't the last time.
We definitely can get on more subjects and all that, you know, because
Yeah.
I don't mind being in the hole, you know, because I'm comfortable here. And I'm gonna say it like this: for those of y'all who came to this hole, I guarantee you, if you're woke, you're gonna stay woke. And if you sleep, this is where you can't sleep. You in this hole with us, and till the next time, let's make it the best time. All right, love family. Thank you for showing up.
Oh yeah, all up, cuzzo.
All right, for sure. I'll chop it up with you.
Yep.
Yeah.